Picture this. You're walking down the street minding your own business. Suddenly you smell something familiar. The smell of your favorite childhood snack you haven't eaten in forever, or the smell of a perfume worn by a family member you haven't seen in a while, or even the smell of a store you haven't been into for years. You are overcome with a warm feeling, a feeling of happiness as the memories flood in, and simultaneously a feeling of sadness as you wonder, will I ever be as happy as I was back then? This is the feeling of nostalgia. Welcome to Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and today I'm going to be delving into nostalgia and how studying it can help you predict future film releases, and farming it can help you make some serious dough. Before we start, please consider subscribing to help support this channel so we can keep making videos like this. Recently, I watched the film Reminiscence. It is set in a dystopian future where climate change has led to flooding, triggering war and a fight for survival. During this time, a machine is developed that can help access people's memories, whether that be from a few hours ago when they lost their keys and forgot where, or several years in the past where they did some shady dealings for some suspected criminals. Two examples given in the film. After the war, Hugh Jackman and Thandie Newton take this technology and turn it into a business, essentially selling nostalgia to people. Many of their customers prefer to live in the past rather than the present using these machines. And the film makes it clear that there's a real danger in becoming too attached to reliving your memories. Ironically, by having a plot centered around memory, the audience is also forced to look back. It does to us what the characters do to themselves. In turn, this film as a product of the film industry is an example of what many other films seek to do in a much more obvious way. I'm talking about the onslaught of remakes and sequels that the industry has been chugging out over the last decade, which seek to inspire people to look to the past. Films like Blade Runner 2049, Pet Sematary, Jurassic World, The Mummy, and even Dune, which is set to be released this year. After all, studies show that nostalgia can be a powerful tool. In one study, participants were asked to rate TV shows from different decades and then summarize their feelings. Generally, they said that older TV shows were better than contemporary ones, even after they were reminded of current shows that they had rated just as high or sometimes higher than older ones. Furthermore, the majority of participants rated films from the year that they graduated high school higher than those currently being made. It makes sense then that the film industry would want to profit from this memory bias and nostalgic preference exhibited by people for things that they viewed in their youth. In my video entitled Has COVID Killed Cinema, I brought up some statistics about how in the last 20 years there's been increased investment in franchises, such as Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Shrek, Ice Age, and many more. I also discussed how though cinema admission has decreased overall during this time, it has remained steady for the top 25 films in the box office, many of which have been occupied by franchises. The last 20 years for me makes up most of my life and includes the most important period within my lifespan retrieval curve. As explained brilliantly by Vsauce, this period between the ages of 15 and 30 is when a lot of memories are encoded, and it's considered the time where people form their individual identities. This correlates with the findings from the studies that I previously mentioned. On a side note, this period in the lifetime retrieval curve is entitled the Reminiscence bump, which makes sense as the inspiration for the Hugh Jackman film. Basically, to predict what films are going to come out in the next decade, all you need to do is look at what generation's reminiscence bump is next in line to be exploited. Currently, the film industry is focused on the late Gen X's and early Gen Y's, or millennials. There are plenty of films that are currently being plucked from the 80s and early 90s, ready to be remade, rebooted, or have an unexpected sequel, such as Splash, Clue, Highlander, and even Scarface. At some point, they will start to move along the millennial age range with films from the late 90s and early noughties. In fact, this has already started with films like The Matrix. This nostalgia-based business tactic also holds water when utilized by other industries. Pokémon is a great example. The phenomenon that is Pokémon has successfully crossed cultural and geographic borders and continues to be one of the most recognizable franchises worldwide. The first video games were released in 1996, and since then there have been trading cards with championships, books, board games, toys, as well as a TV series that first aired in 1997 and is currently on its 23rd season and going strong. There have also been 23 animated films and 1 live-action one, Detective Pikachu, which made 3 times its budget in the box office. The success of both the TV series and the films is interlinked with nostalgia, and the people who first experienced Pokémon in the 90s are able to share their passion with the next generation. And let's not forget Pokémon Go, which took the world by storm in 2016, gaining over 232 million users across 65 countries in its first year. At its peak in July 2016, it had 45 million active daily users. 46% of those were made up from the age range between 18 and 29, followed by 25% made up of people aged 30 to 50. It was a brilliant idea, banking on the dreams of the people who had grown up with Pokémon and could finally become trainers in real life, or as close as they could get, given the current technology. It seems that as long as Nintendo can keep releasing new content to feed a new generation of Pokémon enthusiasts, the phenomenon can keep existing for generations on end, with each new release triggering a wash of nostalgia as each person remembers the first time they experienced Pokémon. In the film industry, franchises such as James Bond and more recently Fast and Furious have followed a similar path, though the more serious investment has definitely been from Marvel and DC, who benefit from their comic book past in the same way that Pokémon does with its video game origins. As the years fill up between the first film and the latest film, so does the nostalgia. Part of me wonders how a new Batman or Spider-Man can possibly survive being released at such an alarming rate considering the past iterations are not that distant. But when you think about it, nostalgia is awoken by the simple reminder that this is not the first Batman or Spider-Man that you've seen. I don't know about you, but there are actors that I specifically associate with both of these roles, relating to films that were released when I was a teenager. Seeing memes of Tobey Maguire alone sparks that comfortable happiness in me and simultaneous sadness when I realize that there is a whole generation who will forever know Spider-Man as Tom Holland. In the past, the onus has been on building hype for a one-off comeback of familiar characters, which would produce a momentary burst of revenue. If the Friends reunion had actually been the actors coming in and playing their characters for a new episode, then it would have been ludicrously popular. Just imagine the level of insanity that a Harry Potter or Twilight sequel would procure nowadays if it was released with the OG actors. However, the current climate of cinema is one of stretching the limits, of taking a previously successful idea and wringing out as much as you can from it before retiring it. And even then, it could potentially make a comeback, as is the case with Dexter. It is this type of investment in sustaining interest in a franchise across years and decades that most fits what I term nostalgia farming. But there is a third option, a culmination of the two strategies, with films like Spider-Man: No Way Home, which will apparently feature all of the previous actors that have played Spider-Man in recent history. Of course, what a brilliant idea, a perfect way to ignite every generation's nostalgia all at once. I may not like having my money taken from me, but I appreciate the genius of it. So there we have it, nostalgia and the film industry. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe and hit the bell icon if you want to see more videos, and comment with your thoughts on the topic. What film makes you feel nostalgic? For more film content, feel free to follow us on Twitter, Letterboxd and Facebook, links in the description. Otherwise, this has been Tea Break Film Reviews. My name's Michelle, and I hope you have a great day.